Hi everybody, this is Wolfgang with 6L Designs. I've had several individuals reach out to me and asking me if I could make a quick little video about this simple finish that I apply to some of the projects that I make for my clients. And it just kind of creates this aged look, and it's very, very simple. So what I use is flat black rattle can spray paint. I use the Ace brand just because it's very accessible to me, and I have had good experiences with it, but I'm pretty sure any other spray can flat black would do the same. Then I use, kind of to create that effect, I use abrasive pads, green ones and the red ones. And if you don't have those, you can also use steel wool. Does the same thing, might take a little bit more work, but I've had great success with those pads. That's why I use them. The other thing that I want to mention is kind of like that this finish is purely decorative. It doesn't provide any protection against the elements, kind of like, so if this is something that you'd want to use to create that effect for something that's exterior, you definitely would have to clear coat it. But if it's in a controlled environment, like in a home, I've done all the stuff that I've done, railings, furniture pieces, that I just applied that finish and it has held up well, hasn't started to rust. And so it does the trick for me, and my clients really like it. So next step is taking a look at what we want to finish. Let's get started. So here's a project that I'm working on right now for a client of mine. So you can see, you know, the areas that I had to grind and the different, you know, surface colors. And so I want to apply some black to this. And when I spray it very, very thin. So just enough to basically hide kind of like all the areas that show grind marks and are just plain silver, because everything else is, you know, just hot rolled with mill scale on it. So I just wanted to show kind of like the piece that we're using and the difference that we'll have at the end. So please shake your can well that the paint is mixed, and then apply a real thin coat. So this is not a matter to kind of get full coverage, because whatever you put on, you know, the more you put on, the more you have to basically get rid of. So as you can see, this is just a very, very thin coat, just enough to blend these different colors and kind of like just tie it together. So it's not a matter of putting a lot of it on, just kind of like to be able to cover whatever you have to. So you'll see, I'll come a little closer after I'm done, so you can see what it actually looks up close before I start using the abrasive pads to bring it down. And what that will do, it will just kind of like everything that's raised will have the paint removed, and it just creates this little bit of a worn look. But as you can see, this isn't a lot of paint that I put on. It's just enough to kind of like blend this. So let's take a look at what this looks like after applying the finish. So you can still see the texture of the steel basically showing through, and that's actually what you want. You don't want to have it too heavy, because to get the desired effect, all all of that would have to be basically rubbed back down. And the nice thing is, if you have to do a little bit more in some areas, you can apply a little bit more of the paint and repeat that a couple times if you keep those different layers as thin as possible. So I let the paint dry, and the nice part is kind of like this flat paint dries really fast. Depending on humidity and temperature, kind of you can start working on it, and depending on how thick your initial coat was, you can start rubbing it down within 15-20 minutes. So I've just waited for that time, and so now I'll just start out with the green pad because it's more abrasive, and then I basically just start working around all those features, and all of a sudden, kind of like, you know, edges, everything that is raised basically has the paint removed to a certain degree, and that kind of like creates this aged kind of look. And because the coat that was applied initially isn't really that heavy, you know, it doesn't take much kind of like to create that effect. So a lot of individuals thought that this is, you know, a very complicated process, and you can see here that it isn't at all. I like simple and effective, and so I've done this now, I don't know, for the last 6-7 years. I tried it on pieces that I have in my home just to see how it would hold up, and so they haven't changed in their appearance at all. So I'm very happy. And the nice thing is, kind of like, as I had to grind certain areas because these little plug wells, so all of a sudden they blend in, and they're not noticeable anymore. So you can see, kind of like, you know, get a little closer. So if you want to give this a try, you can see doesn't take much. So just weld up a little something and do it exactly the same way. So after I'm done with this green pad, that's, you know, just a little bit more aggressive, to remove most of the paint, I basically go over the whole thing with the red one, kind of like just to, you know, bring down some of the scratch marks that I just create with this more abrasive pad. So if you want to protect it, in addition, you could easily, after that, just take some compressed air, clean it off, so you have all the dust off, and then you're just taking a clear coat, you know, some clear, you know, polyurethane, and just spray it and you'll have something that'll look really nice. I like it kind of like when it looks like this, where it's really flat. And so the only thing that I would use as a clear coat is something that's also as flat at the end, because to me that looks just very, very, very good. And then I just take this red pad and just wipe everything down. All it takes is just a little bit of elbow grease and patience. And if you've done it a couple times, you'll have no issues at all. The biggest deal is just kind of like to have the right amount of paint on there, so you're not going too heavy, because then it's just a bear, kind of like, you know, just to wipe it back down. So don't overdo it. Keep it nice. Keep it simple, and you'll have a result that you'll really like. So that's all there is to it. Thanks for watching. So here's just a real close-up, so you can see how all these raised portion edges, rivets, can I just leave this little bit of patina around them. And so you can see the steel through it. And you can see kind of like, you know, I had basically a weld here, and I had a weld here in the corner and up here. And they're barely noticeable anymore. So they completely blend in. And here you can just see, you know, just texture in the steel. And so it's just a very, very simple way. And my clients really love how this turns out.